Hello, I'm back with Dr. Jen from the counseling group. Oh, I'm going to start over. Sorry. It's an early morning.
She's
Sorry.
like,
Yeah.
That's okay.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Hello, I'm back with Dr. Jen from the counseling group for another Mental Health Monday. So take it away, Dr. Jen.
Good morning, Emma. Thanks so much again for having me today. So today's mental health tip sounds simple, but it's a little bit complicated. It's food and mood. So it's very interesting. In the beginning of my career 25, 30 years ago, there was actually this little paperback book that I ran across, just a little tiny thing. I don't even know if it still exists. And literally the title was Food and Mood. And I'm like, what? I just finished my master's degree and I was doing therapy. And I'm like, what does food have to do with mood? Of course, being very naive, obviously, at that point in my life. And flipping through it, I didn't realize how many connections there were to what we eat and how we feel. So again, having done a little bit of research, so let me find my tab that I was on this morning. So basically, if we think about it, food plays a bigger role than you may think. There's a strong connection between our mind and our digestive system. So wrong eating and drinking habits actually negatively impact our thoughts and our actions, which is really interesting because when we think about mental health, obviously the way we think matters a lot. It can cause poor reasoning and make it easier to give into things that aren't that healthy. There's also, I'm sure these days people have heard about gut health and mental health, and that's an important thing to look at in terms of why does what we eat matter in terms of our mental health. Did you know that 90% of the serotonin receptors are located in our gut? So I don't know, I had this feeling somehow that we eat and things go directly to our brain and that's where our neurotransmitters are. But to think that 90% of the serotonin receptors are in our gut, of course it makes sense that it matters what we eat. So in looking at that, one of the things we're to avoid is ultra processed foods and fast foods. Now, that's a little bit difficult these days, actually, because fast foods are made to be tasty and they have additives and they're typically quite cheap. So especially if you're a family that doesn't have a lot of money, fast food's actually not a bad option from your budget standpoint, but it's really bad for our mental health. So, wreaks havoc on us. Depression and anxiety, bipolar disorder, OCD, even schizophrenia and ADHD, they list in the things that could be caused by poor eating habits. So the opposite of that is to try and eat as much fresh fruits and vegetables as possible. And actually on the vegetable track, one of my family members recently went through cancer. And when we met with the oncologist, she said that one of the reasons Canada or North America has higher incidence is we really are not good with our vegetable intake. That in other countries where they have lower incidences of cancer, they do 5 to 7 servings of vegetables per day. And if you think about that, that means you have to start eating vegetables at breakfast, basically, to get that many in by the end of the day. A major source of serotonin, I found out, is found in butternut squash, soy, spirulina, seaweed, cucumbers, potatoes, walnuts, and leafy greens. So if we could really dive into those veggies, I think that overall is going to help our physical health and obviously will help our mental health as well. So a diet that is rich in vitamin and minerals direct from whole fruits and vegetables is what we should be focusing on. And for those at home, I like to do their own research because everybody's affected a little bit differently. I had one client actually years ago. She knew if she ate too many carbs, she would get anxious, or too many sugars and she would get depressed. So she was so in tune with her body, she actually knew which things directly affected her mood. So if you either Google food and mood, you'll find a bunch of cool articles on there with good research, or gut health. You will also find the same thing, because I think it's important for people to take charge of that themselves and figure out in their own life what they can afford and how they can, shift things over slightly, and how their mental health can be improved through what they eat.
Awesome. Well, thank you. That's actually such an interesting topic. I never really put that together with the food, but it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me again today. This is always such a pleasure, and we'll see you next time. Yeah.
Thank you again, Emma. I just appreciate that the White Rock BIA is really getting out there to try and help us move out of this pandemic from a mental health perspective. So thank you again.
Thank you.